Alright, time to start the video. Let's talk about the benefits of honesty. Now, this is a pretty boring topic compared to most of mine, but if it works, it works. And it's good to establish reasons for why moral behavior is not just a good thing, but actually boosts the productivity of a society in the long run. Because a lot of people seem to think, for one reason or another, that immoral actions are the only way to get positive results. This isn't true. Immoral actions can sometimes quicken things, but they are not the best for long-term stability. So let's talk about honesty, one of the good things you can do that benefits society as a whole. Honesty boosts trust. This should be self-explanatory. If someone's not constantly deceptive, you trust them more because you understand, okay, this person isn't likely to lie to me, they're not likely to trick me, and they're not likely to deceive me. Further encourages honest communication. Go figure. If you aren't lying constantly, then people are going to communicate with you more clearly and transparently because they trust you. And also because fundamentally, and geez, that is freaking noisy. Regardless, back to the point. With this, it encourages honest communication because fundamentally, when you're able to be transparent on your end, it's a lot easier for the other person to be transparent on their end. If there's a prisoner's dilemma where two sides want something and they're worried that they can't get it without the other working with them because of trust issues, well then suddenly you have a problem. But if one side is transparent and they can see that, then the other side can respond in kind and both can get the best outcome. Cooperation without giving too much up on either end. And that is, again, the best outcome for obvious reasons. After all, if you don't have to give much up but you gain quite a bit out of a situation, then that is a pretty good thing, all things considered. It also makes societies more trusting. When you have people who are willing to trust, they're more willing to go out of their way to do good things for each other, because, well, they believe that will be returned, in full or in part. And people will be willing to do good things just because. After all, if it becomes normal, or tradition, then the default is that action. And if the default for your actions is moral behavior, kindness, honesty, then you're likely to trust each other, because, well, the average person is going to be far kinder to you. Think of it in comparison to what we have now. Most people don't freaking trust each other. And so they don't act in ways that a trusting person would. After all, if you believe firmly that the other side is willing to backstab you at a moment's notice, will you act in a way that is trusting to them? No, of course you wouldn't. Instead, you're going to be reserved, cautious. You're going to think, what's in it for me? And you're right back to that prisoner's dilemma, seeking to cut them off at the pass because you're worried they're going to do the same to you. And of course the noises are louder. Jeez. Irregardless, this point should be noted especially. When you're constantly worried about the other side making an action that will hurt you, it will simultaneously result in you doing the exact same thing to them, or close, unless you're able to restrain yourself. But of course, with honesty, that's far less likely and far less needed. Because if everyone's up front, well then they don't need to worry about what you're hiding, because you already showed it. Now, some clarification should be added. Some distrust is what is natural for many, and it should be done to some extent. Some distrust is warranted, but honesty is generally a beneficial policy. Think about it. If everyone knows who you are, and you're known for being honest, they're going to trust you more, they're going to be more willing to cooperate, and they're going to be more willing to help you out because, they don't think you're constantly scheming. A deceptive person is going to be figured out as deceptive if people are going to start acting accordingly. Sure, for those you don't know, this won't be a problem if you're deceptive, but for those that you do, and there are quite a few over time that will naturally figure out who you are, well then, you're going to face a lot of issues. People are less likely to work with you, people are less likely to help you. Essentially, you'll be left on your own with no one to turn to. And when you need someone to turn to, well, that's going to be an issue, naturally. And so, you end up in the gutter and treated like garbage because no one trusts you. Because you're just a piece of garbage, at least in their eyes. And so, honesty boosts people's opinion of you and thus their willingness to help you out. And vice versa. Someone's more honest to you, you're more likely to trust them and help them out. And this is very important for both optics and just pragmatism. If people look at you and think, this is an honest guy, then they're more likely to trust you and thus perceive you and your actions in a more direct way. So if you do something wrong, but say, I was trying to do good, people are likely to believe you. Whereas if you're a piece of scum, people are going to say, they're just making an excuse, they had some interest in this. And naturally, it may be true, but when you're honest, it looks more like someone just made, a mistake versus an intentional damage committed for self-interest. And it is better to just not inform someone rather than lie when dilemmas come up involving this. Think about it. When you lie, there's something to fact check, something to, prove wrong. If you don't inform a person, well then, there's nothing to fact check, because even if you know it, but don't tell them, sure, you may call that a lie by omission, but it's still not a direct lie, so you can't fact check it, because, nothing was said to fact check. And thus, you can effectively conceal what needs to be concealed during certain moments, and then tell it later, when you can safely say so. A white lie is bad because it firmly damages people's trust in you. Thus, overall net, the actual emotional damage is greater than if you just told the truth. And so, as a result, it is better to just either not tell them if it's really bad, or just be honest and deal with the consequences from there, because they're going to be far less than the reveal that you lied to them. Because go figure, people don't like liars. They don't like people being lied to, especially if said person is themselves. The only exception is almost always when they're the ones lying. Because, then it's them, their interest. That's just kind of how people are. People are selfish in many ways. But by being honest, and everyone knowing what your interests are, your goals, dilemmas, and of course, your agendas, then they can plan around you, and they can work with you, cooperate, and achieve results. Honesty is often called the best policy. It's just a simple way to explain why people should do it. But there's far more beyond it than just being a beneficial policy. They're the actual benefits themselves, the reasons it is beneficial. It's not beneficial on its own. It's beneficial because what it provides to society and the individuals who do act honestly and be honest in their words and in their actions are clear, and they get results. Think about it. Would you rather work with someone who lies every day, does not maintain consistent stories, and constantly goes behind your back to do whatever the heck they want, or someone who says, here's my interest, here's what I want, and would you like to help me do it? I guarantee you'd rather deal with the honest person, because at least you know what you're dealing with. Sure, you may disagree. For example, I have been plainly honest about my beliefs, and I guarantee you most people do not agree with them. I guarantee it. But at least there's a respect in the simple honesty of it. It is, I know what he wants, I know what a person wants, and so I can act accordingly, critique accordingly, adjust my beliefs as necessary, or if I just believe they're flat out wrong, say it. They can move around me, or with me, cooperatively and easily, because they know fundamentally where I stand and where they stand, and as such can work around it. If someone's constantly deceptive, changing their rhetoric, changing their beliefs, then it's a lot harder to work with them. And you can say this with a lot of politicians, populist or no. When you're constantly changing your positions, you look like a freaking pancake, and, moreover, it's a lot harder to trust when you say something on the campaign trail, or really any time. If, for example, let's take our modern president, Donald Trump. He said he was going to lower egg prices on day one. Have they lowered? Yes. But his constant flip-flopping on things, some make sense, some not so much. Like, for example, the Epstein situation, which, while fondly getting looked into, was initially a, we're going to release them, actually they don't exist, and now we're actually going to release them situation. It looks bad on the administration, himself, and those around him. And so you can see why the constant flip-flopping, whether it be the on the eggs issue, which, while hyperbolic, still got some people to consider it, and definitely on the Epstein situation, created some issues within both his party and just practically with the voters. It's a lot harder to rally people to your cause when they see you as basically a flip-flopper. An opportunistic leech that doesn't actually plan for anything but just takes when they need it and leaves when they don't. People like direct action, and they like actions that they understand. It is why, even if you disagree with people like James K. Polk, you can at least respect the honesty of just, here's what I want to do, I'm going to do it, and if I do it, I'm not going to run again. Something he lived up to. Did everything he said, left office, and never ran again. Then he died shortly thereafter, but that's less important. But the fact that he did it gives a lot of respect for people. Sure, you may not agree with the annexation of California and Oregon, but fundamentally, with that, he did what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to annex Texas. He did. He said he was going to lower tariffs so that we could have more profitable tariffs. He did that. He said he was going to settle the Oregon issue. He did. Negotiated a treaty with Britain and annexed the lower part, which is now Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And he said he was going to annex California, something he did with the Mexican-American War. He did everything he said he would do, didn't run again, and even if you don't like him, fair enough, he was at least honest, so a lot of people respected it. Sure, some people may look back and say, well, westward expansion wasn't that good. I would disagree, but people would say that. But at least you can respect his honesty. It's easy to plan around him. Same with Henry Clay in the American system. You knew what you were getting with Clay. You knew what you were going to get with Polk. And that was beneficial in politics because fundamentally, people didn't look at them like they did Mitt Romney, or Obama, or Trump, or Biden. When people look like they're constantly flip-flopping, people don't trust them. They don't seem to really have a plan other than, oh, what sounds good to the voters, which people don't trust. After all, if you're running for office, you should have a plan. And if you're constantly switching, well, it seems like you don't have one, do you? And so that's what it is in politics. Very beneficial. Plus, let's face it, when surrounded by so many liars, honestly, any honest politician would sound like a freaking miracle. Like some angel came down from above and blessed us with someone who was actually competent. Now, are there some honest politicians? Freaking maybe, but it's unlikely. And needless to say, the average politician's reputation is, interesting. And mostly garbage. And that's, of course, the big picture perspective. For the average person, as I said, it's just beneficial. People trust the honest more than those who are constantly deceptive. And it usually means people actually hold to their deals. Or when they do break the deals, let you know so you can make appropriate actions. Honesty is a good policy for people because it boosts trust and makes living far easier because you can act accordingly. It has its benefits. We should not just dismiss it as, oh, that's what they tell children, or any other action. That would make it sound like being a liar or deceptive is a good idea. Sometimes you need to trick people. Sometimes you do need to be the fox. But when you don't, and when you just need allies or just need to cooperate, be honest. Be upfront. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.